Napoli head scout Maurizio Micheli set to join Arsenal. He is one of the most influential people at Napoli in the last decade, with players like Koulibaly, Kvaratskhelia, Kim Min-jae. All those players, unearthed gems, joined Napoli and were then sold on for a huge profit. Could Kvaratskhelia be the new left winger that Arsenal desperately need? According to reports, Martinelli and Trossard have both been very good this season, but they need that X factor. Gabriel is injured, has withdrawn from Brazil national team, will not be traveling to Lille to play their next game. As well as more injury news come out of the Italian camp, with Calafiori sent back to Arsenal, but according to Fabrizio Romano, will be fit for this weekend's North London derby. That's right, the first fixture back after international break. Thank God there is no international break now until March. I mean, there's nothing like club football. Don't get me wrong, I like all football. I watched the AFCON game yesterday, watching DR Congo against Nigeria. DR Congo ended up progressing to the next round, and they were playing that tournament in the six-team tournament in March to progress, hopefully, to the World Cup for DR Congo. But club football for me is just where it's at. There's so much more exciting, so much more drama, more VAR moments, etc. But could we really see Kvaratskhelia in an Arsenal shirt? Make sure you go down and drop a like on the video if you haven't already. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button as well. The road to 100,000 subscribers is well and truly on. And it's only about, I want to say, a month and a bit now before the January transfer window. And that is where I believe the January transfer window for two teams could be absolutely huge. And those two teams are Arsenal and Liverpool. Because Liverpool have been heavily linked to Semenyo in the last couple of days. I don't see Man City going out there and doing huge business unless they pick up an injury, like unless an Erling Haaland or someone like that got an injury. I don't really see them doing a huge amount of business. But I want to start with the Napoli news coming out. Maurizio Micheli has proven a lucrative track record. He famously discovered Kvaratskhelia in the Georgian League. Now, if you don't know who that is, this is Mauricio is one of the head scouts at Napoli, and the BBC have put out a report saying Arsenal are in talks to appoint Napoli's head scout. Now, they've already changed their recruitment team a little bit. Andrea Berta come in and replace the previous director of football. Arsenal are in advanced talks over appointing Napoli head of scouting Maurizio Micheli into a lead recruitment position in what would have been viewed as a significant coup for the London club. He brought through players like Hamsik, Kim Min-jae, Kvaratskhelia. The Premier League club have undergone a period of internal change over the last 12 months following the departure of previous director Edu, and now and he's number 2, Jason Ayotu, and now they've appointed Andrea Berta. Now, some of the signings that Mauricio brought through the door, some of these absolute gems. Hamsik, one of the best midfielders Napoli have had in the Serie A. Scouted Kim Min-jae for just 16 million in 2022, sold him for 43 million to Bayern a year later. And that's one thing that Arsenal don't do collectively well. They don't sell players for huge profit. When you go onto Transfer Market and you look at their biggest departures they've ever had, Nicolas Anelka is still in their top 4, top 5, and they sold him back in 99, I believe. I could be wrong on that. Let me double check that. I could be wrong on that, actually. It might be Oxlade-Chamberlain. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is Oxlade-Chamberlain. Micheli was also the first to spot Koulibaly when he signed in 2014 from Genk. I mean, look at these players. Genk, he brought in Hamsik from, the Bratislavan League, put him on the map before his legendary 400 games for Napoli. I mean, Arsenal is gaining a scout who specialises in unearthing gems. Now, lots of people have put 2 and 2 together and said Kvaratskhelia. Now, we'll get onto him in a minute. Arsenal have to get better at selling players. Transfer Market, this is their biggest sales in the club's history. Now, Nicolas Anelka is still in the top two, and he left in 1999. Alexis Sanchez, 34 million. Fabregas, 34 million. Emil Smith Rowe, the most recent one on there, 31 million. Van Persie. Like, they're a fantastic club when it comes to discovering talent and purchasing some of the biggest stars out there, but they have to improve, in my opinion, on when it comes to selling players. Now, Kvaratskhelia is the one that's got everyone thinking, well, hang on, we need a left winger. That's what everyone seems to be saying. Well, in terms of his PSG stats, he has played in a lot of games this season. Now, when you look at, if you go onto football and look at PSG this season, and you look at what they've been able to do in the Champions League, beat Barcelona away from home, they're top of the Ligue 1. They're in a very strong position as well in the Champions League, but they kind of have two different 11s. This is their most recent win. This was a 3-2 win over Lyon. Now, a lot of people do believe that PSG have too many forwards. Like just this forward line, for instance. There is no Ousmane Dembele. There is no Bradley Barcola. There is no Desiree Doué. There is no Gonçalo Ramos. They've got a lot of forwards. Gonçalo Ramos come on there. You know, injured, they've got Desiree Doué and Ousmane Dembele. I do believe when you look at Kvaratskhelia's numbers, I honestly think he could be an unbelievable signing for whoever it is he signs for. But in this market, you're probably looking at £100 million minimum. He's on €314,000 a week, which is about £290,000. A lot of clubs would happily pay that. He's only 24 years of age. You know, had a really, really good Euros with Georgia, just gone. Look at his record. It's not the highest in terms of output. You know, what's that? 3 GA in the league, 3 GA in the Champions League. When you look at what he has achieved throughout his career, though, it is very, very, very impressive. Of course, part of that Napoli team that won the Scudetto for the first time in nearly 30 years. Had an unbelievable partnership with Victor Osimhen. You know, has won a treble with PSG. Has got, I think he actually won, was it 2 league titles with Napoli? Yeah, he did. Of course, because he joined in January last year. So he would have got a Ligue 1 title and he would have got a Scudetto. So he's won 2 Italian titles, 1 French title. You know, he's got a Champions League. His numbers are very, very, very impressive for both Napoli and PSG. He's got 22 GA and 46 for PSG, bearing in mind the amount of squad depth they have. And he's also got about 60 GA and 107 for Napoli. Is it realistic? I'm not necessarily sure. But if there's a link and it is the scout that sign, then it's quite easy for transfer sources to put 2 and 2 together. Now, Brazil have confirmed that Gabriel will not travel to Lille for the match against Tunisia, with scans showing that the Arsenal defender has a muscle injury. And I believe it's his left thigh that he's injured. I don't really understand why they're doing these pointless friendlies. You know, Brazil didn't necessarily need to play that game. Granted, you know, there was a big turnout at the Emirates, but that game now has, you know, picked up an injury, which I think it was Brazil-Senegal. You know, was it necessarily, it's a friendly. He picked up an injury. Sarr picked up an injury for us. Was it necessarily, did it need to happen? I'm not so sure, but everyone's freaking out again. Of course, Calafiori is injured. I don't necessarily think, you know, there should be a huge amount of concern for Arsenal. They have got squad depth like Nkapie that can play there, Mosquera that can play there. You know, Ben White can play as a centre-back. Timber can play as a centre-back. They do have a lot of big games coming up. They've got Bayern Munich in the Champions League. They've also got Chelsea in the league coming up as well. But I don't necessarily buy into some of the, you know, oh, this is Arteta's fault because, he played him against, he played him against this team and that team. After all, it's a squad game. You're always going to get injuries, but I don't understand how you can blame that on Arteta. You know, I mean, look at their run of games now between now and the 10th of December. They've got 3 more games this month. North London derby on Sunday, and then they've got Bayern Munich in the Champions League, and then they've got Chelsea in the League Cup. But if Arsenal do go out there and appoint Mauricio as their new head scout, I would not be at all surprised if the summer coming up he goes out there and buys this player that no one's ever heard of, and then Arsenal turn him into an absolute gem. Of course, at this moment in time, it is in advanced talks. Whether it happens or not, we will have to wait and see. But I personally believe right now, some of the concern about Gabriel's injury, I just believe is a little bit over the top, in my opinion. Like I do believe they are in a very, very strong position, of course, both in the Champions League and in the Premier League. Calafiori has been confirmed that he will be able to play against us. Now, when you look at the amount of injuries both teams have got, Gabriel, the likelihood is he probably won't play this game. According to FootMob, he won't be back until early December. Martinelli should be back this month. Kai Havertz should be back early December. Odegaard and Madueke should be back this month as well. But look at the injuries we've got. Archie Gray, Ben Davies, Kulusevski, Solanke, Maddison, Bergvall, Kudus, Mawani. Mawani is out until 2026. I mean, how's your luck? How is your luck? Make sure you go down, drop a like on the video. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you next time. I'm out.